It was a warm afternoon in 2019 when 24-year-old Jessica Moran walked into a neighborhood grocery store just blocks from her apartment and never came out. No one saw her leave. No one heard a scream. No camera caught her walking out. She was there. And then she wasn't. The store was busy. It was a Saturday, sunny. Families shopping. Kids tugging on carts. Jessica was seen browsing the produce aisle around to 14 p.m. She smiled at a child in a stroller. Picked up a bunch of bananas, then walked toward the dairy section. That was the last confirmed sighting. Her shopping cart was found abandoned beside the refrigerated yogurts. Her phone was in her bag, zipped shut. Wallet untouched, keys still in the side pocket. Surveillance footage showed her walking in, but no footage showed her leaving. That's where the mystery begins. Jessica was a teaching assistant at a local elementary school. Quiet, well-liked, and known for her love of crossword puzzles and iced coffee. Her roommate, Dana, said Jessica left the apartment around 1:45 p.m., saying she'd be back in 30 minutes. She was making her signature pasta for a small dinner party that evening. But by 4 p.m. she still wasn't home. Dana called. No answer. By 6 p.m. the calls went straight to voicemail. At 7 p.m., Dana walked to the grocery store herself just in case. She saw Jessica's favorite canvas toadstool at the customer service desk. The manager had turned it in after an employee found it in online. Dana asked to see the footage. The manager said the police had already taken the full surveillance record. Confused, Dana called 911, only to learn a missing person report had already been filed by Jessica's mother. Apparently, Jessica had texted her mom up to 10 p.m. saying, "Grabbing stuff now. Call you later." That was the last message she ever sent. Investigators combed the grocery store. Every inch, no exit footage, no sign of struggle. One theory floated briefly: had she slipped out through the emergency exit, but those doors were alarmed. No alarm went off that day, not once. Something didn't add up. The store had 14 cameras, all recorded on a loop. 48 hours later, police admitted something troubling. Camera 12, the one pointed at the dairy section, had a glitch. From 2:15 p.m. to 2:19 p.m., the footage was corrupted. Exactly the window when Jessica was last seen. Friends described her as reliable. She'd never ghost anyone. She didn't drink. She didn't do drugs. She had no secret boyfriend. She wasn't depressed. She was preparing for a weekend trip to see her sister in Vermont. One coworker mentioned Jessica seemed distracted earlier that week. She'd shown up to work wearing mismatched shoes, laughed it off. But later, she'd confided something strange, that she felt like someone had been following her. Not every day, but some mornings, on the bus, she'd see the same man. Mid-30s, wireframe glasses, always sitting 2 rows behind her. Never spoke, never stared, just there. Jessica never told the police. Her family put up flyers, held vigils, launched a Find Jess campaign online. Hundreds joined in. A local news station aired her story nightly for a week. Still nothing. Until day 9. A barista to town's over claimed she saw Jessica. Same build, same birthmark on her collarbone. She said the girl walked in around 10 a.m., ordered a chai latte, and asked if the library was nearby. But she used the name Myra. The barista didn't know about Jessica's case until 3 days later, when her roommate showed her a flyer. She swore it was her, even described the tiny daisy tattoo behind her ear. But by then, there was no way to confirm. The cafe had wiped its footage after 72 hours. 2 days later, Jessica's sister received a postcard. No return address, just 4 words. "Tell Dana I'm okay." The handwriting matched Jessica's. The card was postmarked from a town 6 hours away. Police scanned the card. No prints, no clues. Just the eerie message. Dana was stunned, hopeful, but confused. Why wouldn't Jessica call? Come. Why vanish so suddenly? And leave no explanation. Then came the twist. On day 17, police entered Jessica's apartment with permission from her parents. Her laptop had been untouched, her emails unread. But in a box under her bed, they found a journal. The final entry was dated the night before she disappeared. It read, "If I go tomorrow, it's not what you think. Please don't look. Some things are better left alone." They showed it to Dana. She was speechless. Jessica had never mentioned any kind of plan. No big life change. No secret she was hiding. And yet, next to the journal was a small flash drive. The only file on it was a short audio clip, faint whine, a woman breathing. Then her voice, "I know what I saw, and I know what I have to do now. If this is my last message, tell Mom I'm sorry." Authorities couldn't make sense of it. No signs of coercion, no evidence of foul play. Just a vanishing act wrapped in cryptic clues and dead ends. 3 weeks passed, then 1 month, then 2. Until the landlord entered Jessica's apartment to fix a plumbing leak. He opened the kitchen cabinet under the sink. What he found changed everything. A small notebook. Drenched, but still legible, the first line. It was never about the grocery store. 2 days after Lana's disappearance, her sister Kayla unlocked the door to Lana's apartment. Everything looked exactly the same. No sign of a struggle. No forced entry. No missing items. But then, she noticed it. On the kitchen table, a grocery bag, not a new one, an old one, dated stamped from a local organic market that had closed down months earlier. Inside were fresh produce, apples, yogurt, a loaf of bread. Still cold, still sealed. It was as if someone had just bought them that morning. Even though the store no longer existed, Kayla called the police. Again, they dusted the bag for prints, only Lana's were there. No other DNA, no clues. The timestamp on the receipt read, July 14th, 2024, 2:16 p.m. But Lana had disappeared on July 12th. How did a missing woman buy groceries from a store that had shut down in April? 2 days after she vanished, theories exploded online. TikToks broke it down frame by frame. Reddit went into full detective mode. Some said the receipt was a printing error. Others thought it was a hoax, maybe planted by someone seeking attention. But Kayla knew her sister, and Lana had never shopped at that particular store before. She was loyal to her neighborhood trader Joe's. Something was off. That's when a man came forward. His name was Joel, a former employee at the same grocery store back when it was still operating. He recognized Lana's photo immediately. She used to come in every Thursday afternoon, he said. Always bought 2 apples, a yogurt, and a loaf of sourdough. Exactly what was in the bag. But Joel's last shift at the store was in March. She hadn't been back since. And certainly not in July. But then came the voicemail. Kayla found it while scrolling through Lana's old phone backups. It was timestamped to 23 p.m. on July 14th, 7 minutes after the receipt. "Kay," Lana's voice whispered. "Don't freak out. I'm okay. I think. I saw something I wasn't supposed to. I'll call you when it's safe." Then silence. No sound in the background. No click, just static. The police traced the call. It pinged off a tower in Maple Creek Forest, a dense wooded area 2 hours outside the city. A place Lana had never mentioned visiting. A place she had no known connection to. That weekend, volunteers and rescue teams combed through the forest. They found nothing. No signs of Lana. No phone. No tracks. But the search wasn't over. Because 3 days later, a hiker posted something strange to Instagram. A picture of a tree deep in the forest, its bark carved with initials, L+K 2009. The comments exploded. That was their carving. Lana and Kayla had done it as kids during a family camping trip 15 years ago. But that trip wasn't anywhere near Maple Creek. They had carved that into a tree in Cedar Hollow, a different forest miles away. So how did their mark appear here? The tree was old, mossy. The carving wasn't fresh. It had been there for years. It didn't make sense. Kayla started to wonder, had they really never been here before? Or was there something about that childhood trip? Something they had forgotten. Their parents said no. They had never camped in Maple Creek, but Kayla's memories were growing fuzzy. Almost warped, like pieces had been arranged. She dug up their old family photo albums. No pictures from the Cedar Hollow trip. None. Only pictures after. Kayla stared at one particular photo. Her and Lana, sitting at a picnic table, smiling. The timestamp, August 2009, Maple Creek. But they were never there in 2009. Were they? More inconsistencies popped up. Lana's calendar app, always meticulously filled, had an entry scheduled for July 15th. Meeting, 3 p.m. Just the letter M. She never used vague labels. Every other meeting was listed clearly. Dentist, project review, dinner with Kayla. But this one, just M. The police tried to decrypt the calendar metadata. It had been added manually, from her laptop. At 1:48 a.m. on July 13th, after she was already missing, then came the final twist: an envelope, no stamp, no return address, left on Kayla's doorstep. Inside, a single Polaroid photo. Lana, sitting on a bench. Somewhere outdoors, she looked calm, almost serene, like she had chosen to be wherever she was. But the photo had no date, no caption, just one thing on the back. A handwritten message: "I remember now, but it's better if you don't." Kayla broke down. It was Lana's handwriting. There was no doubt, but the question wasn't where she was now. It was, where had she been before? Why had her memory, their memory, changed? And what did Lana mean by, "It's better if you don't"? Was she hiding, protecting them? Was this her choice? Or was it something else entirely? A public search forum was launched. Thousands joined. People from across the country shared similar stories: brief vanishings, memory gaps, places they thought they had never been, only to find proof they had. The grocery bag, the voicemail, the tree carving, the photo. None of it added up. And yet, every piece fit somehow, just not in any way that made sense. Some began to speculate about alternate timelines, shifts in memory, and seeing events playing out in plain sight. But through all the noise, all the theories, one truth remained: Lana was still missing. And yet, somehow, she wasn't. Because if that photo was real, if that voicemail was her, she hadn't disappeared. She had stepped away. Into something, somewhere, someplace no one understood. And maybe, she didn't want to be found. But for Kayla, for the family, for the thousands who now clung to this mystery, they needed answers, they needed closure. And maybe, so did you. So take one more look at that photo. Zoom in. Notice the shadow in the background, that faint outline, that shape. It looks like a person, but not Lana. Someone else, watching her, standing perfectly still, half hidden in the trees. And the haunting part: they're holding a grocery bag from a store that no longer exists. If you've seen Lana Matthews or recognize the store in the photo, email tips@disappearedinplainsight.com. Sometimes, the story isn't about where someone went. It's about where they were before they left.